It's a great day. My name is Che Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we're on a mission. And our mission really is to empower, our mission is to inspire, and our mission is to provide you, that's right, you, the hard working entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And on this episode, we have the one and only Betty. She's in the house, and she was talking about the 3 golden apples for business writing success. Can't wait to hear from her. What's going on, Betty? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, Jay. How are you today?
I'm doing amazing. Thanks a lot. I'm looking forward to this. When you talk about business writing success, I mean, it's a mouthful. But before we get started, take a moment and define what is business writing success. I mean, we're all just curious. What's your definition of it? 'Cause it could mean different things to different people who are watching.
All right. Yeah, that's fair enough. Well, I always start whenever I'm working with the client, regardless of what the scope of the project is, to say, what do you want this to do? And that's how we define success. Now, you may want to have your business writing be, say, it's a book that wants to elevate your presence in the speaking market. Maybe you want a killer email series that's going to make people want to get to know you better and have them pick up the phone or go to your appointment page or whatever that goal is. And so business writing success to me is defined as supporting you in reaching your goals. Once we've pinpointed exactly what you want to do, maybe you want a better social media presence or any of those types of things, then we can go into the exact method that that will create that success, which is what we mean by the 3 golden apples. The 3 golden apples is it's a powerful scientific method, goes back thousands of years, and it works.
Before you get into that, there's some folks that might be curious, why are people struggling these days? I know it's a loaded question because people are different levels, different backgrounds, different skill sets, but why do most people struggle these days with writing? I mean, I think writing is like #2. Most folks don't want to speak publicly. The #2, they don't want to do anything in writing if they don't have to. It's just such a pain. So in the age that we have now with AI, which you think you could just tell it what you want to say and it'll just say it for you, why are people still struggling from your view of the world at really being able to get their thoughts and get everything into writing? What's holding them back?
Well, there's a couple of things. One of the biggest deals is people not understanding what their value really is and how to present their value to the world. They wonder if what they're having to offer is really, quote, good enough, right? Because it's a central issue in the mainstream culture that nobody is good enough and nothing is good enough. That's why we have the kinds of problems we do with so much consumerism and overthinking of everything. The truth is that whatever it is that you're doing, you do have value, and there is a way to bring that to market. And and but that's the issue that people have. It's the very hardest part is to get started. Is just say, okay, look, I'm just starting. And then the second issue is really getting clear about what that value is and what they're bringing to the marketplace. What do they want to do for their people, and what do they not want to do for their people, or what do they need to delegate? I've worked with people who say, I'm absolutely terrible at writing. And I'm like, that can be true. That can be real for you. And you don't have to do it. That's the other thing is we do have AI. We have people like me who can, take your value proposition, put it into words, and you can go on and do what you do best, which is to build your business.
I love it. Now, as they're listening, they're like, Shay, I love what she's saying. I didn't even get into the 3 golden apples yet. I just like what she's saying. It's making sense over to me. But Shay, I didn't get a chance to read her bio. I know she's famous. I know people might know her all over the world, but this is the first time I'm hearing about her right now. I'm cooking in the kitchen. I hear you. Some of you might be driving right now. You're listening to the podcast. We're in your ears. And thank you to all of you who allow us to stream directly into your homes right now. Like you might be watching on the computer or it's playing in the background on your iPad or your phone. So I'm going to ask if if Betty we can slow down for a moment and take a moment, tell them, who are you? I think that's a fair question. And then what was your journey that led you to being so passionate about what you're doing now? So two-part question. Who are you? And then what was that journey that got you to where you are now?
Okay. Okay. Well, first, I want to echo what you said about thanking the listeners and thanking you for having me on the show, Jay, because I jumped right in and said, "How are you?" And I didn't say thank you first. And I was like, "Hello, where's your manners, girl?" But so seriously. So here's who I am. I was born in New Jersey, and I grew up in a modest circumstances, shall we say. What worked for me was when I got my first dictionary and my first encyclopedia, and I discovered the origins of the alphabet. I got really fascinated by what the alphabet was all about after learning to read from the TV, and then and nobody, in my view, understood how important this discovery was. I was like 7 years old, going around, "Did you know that?" And people were like, "Come on, it's the alphabet. Calm down, right?" But um, for me, it was all about the origins of language, and I got into phonetics, and I was that weird kid with a dictionary who thought that diagramming sentences was fun and all of that stuff. I have several personalities, but that one was certainly, an important feature. And so as life went on, I got trained in writing, and that's where I discovered the principles that later became the three golden apples. And then my life completely changed when I moved to California and got involved with uh, ranching and living out in the backcountry. I built a ranch from scratch. We raised some amazing sons, not by myself. And when they grew up, they moved on, and I got back into writing. I had been writing the whole time, but not to any degree to what I'm doing now. I started editing books. When my youngest son came home from college with his thesis, I helped him with editing that, and I started a blog. Then I started doing workshops and coaching writers, and that led into everything else: ghostwriting, editing, and coaching, and so on. So it's been a journey, and along the way, I used everything that I had learned from my rhetoric teacher, whose memory I will always revere, in creating businesses and selling farm produce, doing different kinds of sales messaging. Started my first business when I was 16, making stuff. Then it was selling produce from the farm and other things. And then as things evolved along, I got more and more into writing, as I said, and that's been very, very rewarding for me because I can take what I've learned and use it to make the world a better place by helping other entrepreneurs get their visions into reality, literally.
And you seem to really enjoy what you're doing. What do you enjoy most about what you're doing now? Thanks for giving us that backstory. We certainly appreciate it.
The best part for me is connecting with the people that I work with, and I get very involved with some of my clients. The relationship can go on for months or even years while you're developing a book, for example, and understanding what people find to be important and what drives their values. That's the best part. But the very best part is when somebody who didn't understand what their value is suddenly gets it. And I can visually see it where they're going up and going, "Oh, I am more than I realized." And their vision of their life expands. In some cases, I've had people make complete changes in the way that they live and change careers to into something that's more rewarding for them and for the world. And so that's super. That's the best.
I love it, by the way. As we get down to the part that I know y'all are worried about, these three golden apples. I don't know if that's a headline. I'm not sure if that's a hook. I'm not sure what they call it these days, but I was like all in. Like, I want to know, what are these three golden apples? So take a moment and talk about the three golden apples and why it's so important to business writing success for those folks that are watching and listening. This is the moment you've been waiting for. So I would go ahead and lean in right now.
You make it sound so good. Okay, well, golden apples are an ancient symbolism. They appear in various myths of different types, and they fit perfectly with the science of rhetoric, which is based on some ancient Greek principles that I learned during my class. And we had to study Aristotle every day and really get into and the other great rhetoric teachers of the ages. So, what the three golden apples are in modern language, taking those same principles and putting them in English and into modern thought patterns so that people can get them. But it comes down to our three things. Language is golden apple number one, choice is golden apple number two, and outcomes is golden apple number three. Now, to expand on that, in a golden apple number one is language. And what I say is speak in the language of your market. What that means is understanding what's important to the people that you're talking to, your audience. Where do they hang out, both mentally and physically? What do they do for a living? Who do they want to be with? Who do they want to sell to? And how is that language of that particular market operating? For example, if you're in a corporate selling environment, your language is focused on things like efficiency and processes. It's not personally oriented. In a food service environment or in the back of a supermarket, nobody has time to deal with your personal issues. Period. All right. Then, if you are instead are in an environment where you're dealing with a local business, your local business is quite involved in their community. And so you need to understand what their customers are looking for and go from there in understanding what the language of that market is. A local business wants to connect with their people and be in the same zone. They want to show their value to the community. And when in your communication, it's about building a relationship that's based on those principles so that the person who you're communicating with gets that you understand where they're coming from. And then, taking it down one step further, if you're in personal services, it's much more about personalized communication, like people who are salon owners or, people providing personal services need to get to know their people quite distinctly and uniquely. So that's golden apple number one. Golden apple number two is choice, positioning yourself to be the only choice by highlighting your expertise. That means showing what it is that you have done before, having examples ready that show people that you know what you're doing and that you understand what their challenges are because you've taken the time by going back to golden apple number one to get where they're at and so that you can meet them at that place and show them that you understand where they are and that you can offer them what they need and also make it clear that you have other skill sets that can serve them well. But the first thing you want to do is concentrate on one thing that you do best that answers the need of your prospect so that they get that you can actually give them the answers they need. Now, that brings us to golden apple number three, which is the outcomes. Focusing on the outcomes is a key piece because what you do is you look at what does your client or customer want to achieve and how are you going to make that happen for them, leaning back again into golden apple number two. What process are you going to give them that's going to bring them exactly what they need, and then take it one step further where you are future pacing by looking beyond what your prospect may even understand that they need and offering them something more. I have an example of using your painting and building. How is it going to be when your building is looking so good that your customers are really happy when they walk in there and you can be the starting point of that bicycle tour for charity and everybody's really happy to go inside and shop afterwards because of all that. And just taking their vision a little bit further than they may have and then also just letting them know that you're there with them. I think that's the biggest thing in all business writing is to say, I am here with you. Please tell me what you need. My experience in sales has always told me that if you ask people what they need, they will almost always tell you. They don't want to tell you unless you ask. So you have to ask. And then they go, like, for example, if you're taking care of a chef, what day is a good day for me to call chef? Or would you prefer to send me an email? Or, what's the best method to communicate with you if I'm writing your email series? Do you prefer email, texting, Google Drive? How are we going to do this? And so that is all of those factors are interconnected with making your people understand that you're showing up for them. So that's what it's about.
I love it how you make it about them, showing up for them, making a difference for them. Well said, by the
Right.
way. And as you were talking, I'm thinking this is a perfect segue because you now taught the three apples, which you love, by the way. Thanks so much. A segment that we have here called Today is My January 1st. Because a number of folks going to be listening saying, man, her life is perfect. She don't have no problems. This is great. She goes off. She has married. Her kids come home. She's helping them in school. I mean, this person just having the time of her life. For those folks that tune in every night, let me just frame the conversation. For those folks that tune in every night, we're about to do 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's the time you wait for where you get to say those magical words for a segment we have called Today is My January 1st. Now, for those folks ready to say it, you can say it with me. Today is my January
Today
1st.
is
Doesn't that
my
feel good?
January 1st.
And then for all
Yeah,
the new
yeah,
folks
yeah.
who are tuning in for the very first time, you want to know, Shay, what in the LL Cool J are you talking about over there? I get it. I understand. Today is my January 1st is our personal mantra at the Happy Entrepreneur Show. It represents a fresh start. It represents a do-over. It means our past, no matter how dark and gloomy that past is or how bright and sunny that past is, you know what? The past no longer equals the future. And so my question for Betty on the other side as she's listening and leaning forward is, when you hear those words, today is my January 1st, what do you even hear? What goes through your mind? And then part two of that is, was there ever a time there was a setback or a challenge in your life that you want to share with us? And if so, how did you bounce back from it? Maybe her life is perfect, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to find out.
Oh boy. Yeah. Well, I love what you said about how, you know, my life sounds really perfect and everything. Really? Thank you for saying that. Um, because it ain't necessarily so. But on the other hand, when I say every day is January 1st, I say that every day, first thing in the morning, as soon as I wake up, that, I choose to create with the universe, to have everything show up through the magic of synchrodestiny. Great phrase that I got from Deepak Chopra. And what that means is that every day is new. Every moment is new. We don't get the past or the future. We get the now, and the now is all there is. We're always in the now. So I approach life in that way. No, don't get me wrong. I'm very organized. I make lots of lists. I have checklists for most things and so on. And what that does it up so that every day can be January 1st because I don't have to figure it out. I know it's going to show up, and I'm going to show up, and we're going to make something out of that. Um, so that's what that means to me. It's every time you turn around, you're having a new beginning. I mean, if you let it, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
so true.
so yeah. So, and I've had a number of different challenges, and then when honestly, I didn't see the January 1st question until 15 minutes ago. So um, I'm like, okay, which challenge I think I'll go to the most recent, most profound one that everyone can relate to, which is obviously the pandemic changed everything for everyone. Okay. And I'm no exception. I'd been living in the mountains in Big Sur for 46 years as a rancher and a farmer and so on. And I had moved into town for different reasons in October. Then all of a sudden, nothing that I had been doing before worked at all. Like I had to close down my food service business, my fashion business, ditto. There was nothing, and so I really had to lean into my writing business a lot and search for opportunities. I was living in a very small room on a busy corner. Couldn't be more different from how I'd been living before that. And I mean, it probably could have, but it was profound, and it was quite a difference. And so I really had to reinvent everything. I got online. I was looking around, cruising Facebook groups, going, where's the opportunity? There's something that can break through. I simply have to keep looking for it and find it and accept it when it shows up. And that did happen. I found somebody who was looking for a speaker for a summit, and she told me about a platform for networking. And I got on that platform and stayed on that thing. I was online like constantly for quite a long time, gathering the connections that I needed in order to take my business to the next steps. And I think just about everybody can relate to how intense the changes that we all had to endure during the pandemic were. I was fortunate that, number one, I had a place to live. I had somebody to take care of who really needed me. She couldn't leave the house. I had to take care, I had to do everything for a couple of months, yada yada. I mean, and I didn't have anywhere near the difficulties a lot of other people had. So I was constantly having to focus on how good things really were. Like we had a neighbor who went to the food bank and gave out food to everybody on the block. God bless her. She's like, well, they know me at the church. They know. They just give me the food, and I just take it around. And that was great. I mean, not only for me but for others. So it was constantly looking for new ways to be kind in the world, and overcoming all of the vast fear and negativity that was available, and just saying, okay, I'm not buying that. That's not where I don't go there. So but the thing is that really honed my skills as a networker. It made me a better writer. I mean, my first response was to write every single day for 28 days. um, uh, Basically, I'd go out for a walk, come back and write until I couldn't anymore. And so I basically wrote a book in a month about the pandemic, about my personal experience. Here's what happened to me this morning, stream of consciousness. And so, yeah, it pushed me, and and I rose again. So, right.
Well,
Thank you for asking.
first of all, thanks a lot for being so transparent and sharing with us. We appreciate it. One of the things that question I like to ask when we have time, we have a few minutes now, is what's
Uh-huh.
one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given? Now, I'm going to frame it for the audience. Okay, you're a writer. You've read more books than you can remember these days, I'm sure. By the way, you're probably someone who's
Uh-huh.
watched more videos over your lifetime than you can probably remember as well. Might have had more mentors have given you so much over this journey of life. But if you had to step back and the time we have and say, this is one of the best pieces of advice I've ever been given that's been shared with me that I want to share with the
Uh-huh.
audience, what would it be and why?
Okay. Well, there's two that I have that came right to mind. The first one will be from my art teacher, who taught us art major, and exposed us to what this is what you're going to face when you're an artist. They don't give you money for the school program. You're going to have all these things that society is going to throw at you, and if you really want to be an artist, you need to get prepared for this now. But what the advice that he gave us was great when he said, there are no mistakes in art. If you think you made a mistake, go back and make it look like it was supposed to be that way. And along with that goes, don't overwork the piece. Like, when you're done and quit. Don't keep going trying to make it perfect. It's never going to be perfect, and you aren't either. So that was great. And the second one comes from my rhetoric teacher, who taught us that truth lies in fine distinctions. And
Mm.
she told us that every day. And that, for me, that was huge because it reinforced my love of things like grammar, that people don't understand how. I mean, some people do, but a lot of people don't think grammar and so on is important, but it really is, because it frames the context of the language, which means that it frames the way that we think about things. So when you have a fine distinction that you're able to make it clear in the reader's mind, you lead them closer to the truth, and you learn more about what the truth actually is. So
Well
those are the
said.
ones.
Oh, I love it, man. That's spot on. As we come down the home stretch, I love the three golden apples as well. A two-part question. First, number one is what type of clients are you looking to work with these days? That's number one. And number two, how can folks connect with you? Like if they want to stay in this conversation with you, get to know you, where should they go? Is there a website? Like how can they best connect with you?
Sure. Well, I'm excited to work with people on their books and bringing their expertise to the world. That's for me. That's the number one thing is, and it can be anything. I mean, I work with fiction, nonfiction, personal narratives. I have. Well, let's see. Right now, working on a couple of different fiction pieces. Definitely a powerful personal narrative, and some business books. So, but right now, I think a new business book would be a really cool thing to get involved in. Because I know that I'm directly participating in advancing someone's success. And the newest project I got is exactly that. So that's really cool. Um, and then, well, you had another question too. Oh yeah, how do you get in touch with
Yeah,
me?
how can they connect with you? Is there a
Okay,
website? Should they connect with you on social media?
yeah, both. My website is called thewriterslaunchpad.com. And you can find me on social media under my name, Betty Withrow. I'm on Facebook and I'm on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, you can find me either as the Writers Launchpad or as Betty Withrow. At thewriterslaunchpad.com, you'll see different materials about what I do and how I do it. There's an opt-in if you want to learn the exact method that I use to support people in writing their books. And there's an opportunity to get a 30-minute consultation with me at no cost to you to talk about your project and see if we're a good fit to work together. And there's no obligation. I mean, just because you take 30 minutes of my time doesn't mean you need to hire me. It may not be the right answer. So, but if I'm not the right answer, I can probably point you to somebody who is.
Well said. Well, let me say two things. First of all, number one, thank you so much for being here on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. I know you can always make more money, Betty, but you can't make more time. So you've given us the most precious gift you have, which is your time. So thank you so much for being on the show. Can't wait to have you back again soon.
I appreciate it so much, and thank you for the opportunity again, Shay. It's been a pleasure, and yeah, I hope to speak with you soon.
And thank you. Thank you to viewers. Thank you for tuning in, by the way. Thank you for welcoming us into your home right now, especially during these times. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to do that. So we don't take that lightly because without you, well, we don't have a show. Okay. So we never get tired. At least I never get tired of reminding you every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, no matter what's going on in your life, no matter what you're going through, that I believe that today is your January 1st. And because of just that one reason alone, I still believe no matter what's happening, your best is still yet to come. They haven't seen it. Your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. With that being said, my name is Shay Brown. It hasn't changed. I'm still the happy entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. We'll make some good things happen. We connect again next time. Peace. We out. So long, Betty. Bye-bye.